Okay, hello everybody and welcome to another video. This is not a video that I was planning on doing or I would have expected to have put out, but I've got something really interesting to show you located in the Grove. Now this involves breaking out of the Grove. I'm going to show you how to do it, but it's very cool. It's some hidden NPCs that ArenaNet put in the game, but that no one has been able to access. Well, a few people will have, but I doubt they would have realised sort of how significant they necessarily were. They don't have anything particularly amazing to say, but they are NPCs that probably very few players, if any, have ever met in this game, that are stupidly well hidden. Okay, so what I'm demonstrating here is that you can enter the Grove and find an instanced area above the Grove where you get to speak with the Pale Tree. This is the Omphalos Chamber. This is where a lot of Sylvari personal story stuff happens. In fact, most characters will end up coming here at one point in the personal story. It's like a cradle of roots high up in the leaves of the Pale Tree, okay? It's where you speak to the avatar of the Pale Tree. And while you're up here, as you can see, there's a very specific selection of NPCs that you can interact with. Well, what I'm going to do is show you some hidden NPCs in that area of the Pale Tree that you wouldn't ever really be able to normally find. And this will make sense very soon. So what you want to do is head into the Grove and basically break out. Pretty much every city in Guild Wars 2 so far that I've come across has got a way of breaking out of it. I actually used this method a long time ago, like a couple of months after launch, I would say. I haven't broken out of the Grove for a long time, but me and the guild were just sort of thinking, hey, let's have some fun. And we were breaking out of stuff, found something very interesting earlier on today. So we went back to the Grove and decided, right, let's use this old method. If you head down one floor, I'm not going to be able to describe this specifically. You'd best just watch the video if you really want the route. But you're going to go head down one floor into the crafting area. And round the back of one of the crafting sections, where you can see all my party members are right now, you can find this curious root archway into a corner with a stack of logs. Now, if you jump up on the side of the cliff here, you can actually get on top of the roots, and using a leap ability, you can then sort of wedge yourself in that corner over there, like so. And you'll see that the mushrooms around have no collision, but you can, this is very fiddly, by the way, but you can, through these collisionless mushrooms, jump around the side of the cliff, as you see me doing here, and this is actually a means to break out of the Grove. What we're going to do is move onto a cliffside that doesn't really have anything of importance. A lot of the terrain you see around me right now has no collision. You can check to see what has collision and what doesn't by using ground targeted abilities. This is something you're going to want to do a lot if you break out of maps at all. So here you can see that I can actually stand on this, but this rock just ahead, now there's no collision because my green circle disappears. So I can't step there. Now, there's nowhere you can really go from where we're currently stood, but you can access the water below. And here you see me jumping down. I actually do this very ungracefully. I almost died to full damage there. But you can actually jump into the water beneath the map. Every map in Guild Wars 2 has a layer of water at the bottom of it. This is something you see in a lot of games. If you're familiar with any of the Elder Scrolls games, they pretty much, since Morrowind, have all worked on this same idea. There's just basically a big layer of water and a big empty void. We are well and truly in an area that we shouldn't be right now. There's a lot of stuff you can do to explore the Grove, and I'm not going to talk about it all in this video, just this one thing we found. It's really cool, really fun to do, and if it doesn't get nerfed, I would recommend people just sort of have a... Actually, I shouldn't recommend people do that, but it's fun. It is fun. Anyway, so when you get in the water, you'll find that there is this terrain beneath you, but you can actually swim around it. And now we are very deep under the Grove. We're underneath the lowest terrain that the map really has to offer. And it looks like we're swimming into the void. You can angle where you're swimming to using the mini-map to always know where you are, even though the screen looks like there's not much going on. And our goal right now is to swim directly underneath where the Pale Tree would be. So here, I open up my map, and I'm clicking through the different surface levels in the bottom right-hand corner. What we want to do is click on the very top one to locate where the Pale Tree is. Here you can see 2 points of interest become available. The Avatar of the Pale Tree and Ventari's Tablet. Once you know that you are stood between those 2 points of interest, you can bug the game out. You can log out to character select and then load back into the map. Now, when you load back into the map, the game's going to detect that you're not in a playable area. You're not in an area that they've passed for you to be in. So it's going to teleport you somewhere. And the way that the game decides where it's going to teleport you is it finds the highest possible terrain above you that is playable surface. So what we're actually doing here is teleporting from directly underneath the map to somewhere very high up above the map. a place that you couldn't normally get to, and that is the cradle where the pale tree usually would be. And you cannot access this area without doing this. We're now really high up. There's no way to jump up here. No way at all. We're way above the regular area of the grove. And we're actually in another version of that personal story instance I showed you guys earlier. We're in the regular grove right now. There are other players running around. There could be 200 other players right now, but we're way above them. This is the only way to get to this area of the pale tree without being in a separate instance. And funnily enough, ArenaNet actually put NPCs here. You see this very, very, very rarely, if ever. I've never seen this before. But they actually put some wardens, some NPCs around here. As you can see, you can't interact with Ventari's tablet. That isn't something you can fiddle with. You can't either interact with the avatar of the pale tree. She is just missing right now, as you can see. Unlike normally in the instance, you would see her here and you'd be able to talk to her. I try and kneel just to see if something will happen. It clearly doesn't. So she's missing. But ArenaNet did put a few NPCs here. These are obviously artifacts from when the game was in development, and they didn't quite realise there was going to be this split where the only way to get to this area of the grove would be through an instance. There's no way to get up here, but these NPCs have remained for all this time. I've looked for every single one of these on the wiki, and none of them have a wiki entry. It seems like no players have really come across them or interacted with them whatsoever. And funnily enough, some of them even have dialogue. This is what's so awesome about this. Some of these guys aren't just NPCs that ArenaNet have dropped into the game as a bit of filler, like these wardens perhaps. Some of them are real, fully named NPCs you can have conversations with and give you information about the lore that very few, potentially no one's really seen. So here we've got Pharaoh, who says, "Wishing you sunshine, my friend. Have you come to seek shelter and love from the blessed source?" And we actually get options to speak to her. We can ask her, what is the blessed source? And she says, it's one of the names we call the pale tree, also blessed mother or mother tree. I've even heard some outsiders calling her pale mother. And we say, what happens here? And they say, we come here to be close to the blessed source, our mother. We commune with her and praise her for flowing life into us. This is information you cannot get in any other way. It's a bit of a shame, really, that these NPCs with all this dialogue are not available to regular players, and you have to break out the map. But here we actually finally get to see it. Here she says, "Oh, I know what you're kind of like." This NPC, she berates me for being an Asura here. She says, "I come from a hole in the ground, and I fled from it like rats from a sinking ship." This NPC doesn't just have dialogue, but she has dialogue that changes depending on the race you are. And further than that, if you play as a Sylvari, she specifically refers to your personal story as a Sylvari. So she could potentially have loads of different lines of dialogue that ArenaNet have all coded into the game and people have just missed. There's nothing mind-blowing necessarily, but this is one of those big payoffs. It might just seem like a handful of NPCs, but as someone like me that likes to just run around breaking out of maps sometimes, it's really cool to see so much stuff left in the game from somewhere and so many different things to interact with in an area that should be completely and utterly inaccessible. And I wanted to share that with you guys. I thought this was really, really cool. Especially seeing that none of them were marked on the wiki. I thought it was a bit of a shame that that was the case, and that they're, even though it's not mind-blowing information, it is information nonetheless. Just wanted to demonstrate that to you guys anyway. There's a lot of fun to be had in Guild Wars 2. It's not a way you should be playing a game. I shouldn't really recommend to people that you should play the game like this, but it is fun. It's a very fun way to spend an afternoon. So anyway, thanks guys for watching. Just a little one here. Let me know what you think. I will keep you up to date with other stuff if people are interested. But otherwise, hope you have a great evening, guys, and I will see you next time. See yas.